The FBI searched the Alexandria, Virginia home of a Washington Post reporter in connection to a classified documents investigation. The search was at the residence of Hannah Natanson, who covers the federal workforce. The investigation involves a Pentagon contractor accused of sharing classified information. CBS News justice correspondent, not head of the Justice Department, he covers the
not yet.
Scott MacFarlane.
We all have ambitions.
This is kind of the nightmare scenario, I would think, for a lot of us who cover government agencies, who may come in contact with sensitive or classified information that people want to share. We know the reporter isn't the target of the investigation, but what more do we know about today's raid?
We know who the target is. It's Aurelio Perez, a man from Maryland who's charged with unlawful retention of defense information. He goes before a judge tomorrow at the federal court in Baltimore. The charging documents in his case indicate that he was a government contractor, has been a government contractor, and was looking at and holding some information that is classified he's not to have. We know this search was in relation to that investigation. The Department of Justice has called this search on this reporter's home righteous. The Secretary of Defense even championed it, saying it was a great thing to protect the war fighters of America. But what connection she has to Aurelio Perez and what Aurelio Perez was looking at is far from clear. We hope to hear some of that tomorrow when Perez faces a judge.
And in the past, usually what would happen here is the government would go to the judge and say, we'd like to talk to this reporter, or we'd like to get information from this reporter because we know this reporter was in touch with the person who's been arrested, or we think they were. Mm-hmm. A judge would then have to issue, there'd be that argument, and the Washington Post or whatever news outlet would probably step in and say, no, First Amendment covers the reporter's right to do this. You don't do that. Instead, they just willy-nilly showed up, surprised her, and grabbed her phone, it looks like.
In the previous administration, there were regulations in place at the Department of Justice to prevent just this from happening, that there were certain thresholds that had to be overcome and a process that had to be undertaken before you could try to execute a search on a journalist's home because of all the protections that journalists expect and that people expect journalists to have. So those regulations have been eroded, if not completely deleted, during the Trump administration, according to a source who worked for the Biden administration's Department of Justice. But there are also these expectations, Ed, that you would have to go through certain hoops first before the provocative step of searching a journalist's home, taking his or her professional computer, his or her personal computer and phone and wristwatch device, all of which were done here. But the Department of Justice has been unequivocal. They say this was righteous and necessary, and they're happy it's been done.
Righteous is the interesting use of that word. I wonder what the judge will think when that's all held up. Scott MacFarlane, thank you for being here. Lots, of course, on your beat, but we'll leave it at that for today. And if you haven't read Hannah Natanson's reporting, you should go take a look at it because it is solid stuff.